Hi everyone. We are back again from Madgaon IMA. Since we are in the post-COVID period, again we have been facing with a lot of post-COVID health challenges, medical challenges, and we have been trying to make people aware and educate people of what post-COVID, what they can expect, and what are the complications of post-COVID. Let me clarify that this is not to scare anybody or to instill fear into anybody. It is only to make people and our viewers aware that these problems are existing and that they should seek help when they encounter something like this, or even if any of their family members feel this way, or whatever we are going to discuss. Today we have with us Dr. Rajesh Zaverani from Victor Hospital. He is a consultant physician and who has been handling COVID from the first wave itself. And then we have Dr. Robert DeCosta, who is the head of the critical care from Victor Hospital. And then we have Dr. Priyanka Dhakankar, who is a pediatrician, practicing pediatrician and the secretary of Margam IMA. And I'm Dr. Babita from Margam IMA. I'm a pathologist.
A very warm welcome, Dr. Rajesh and Dr. Robert.
Thank you.
And we know that COVID-19 is an evolving disease. Since the past 1.5 years, it has put the entire world on its knees, but still there are so many things unclear. There is a group of patients who is completely asymptomatic. On the other hand, younger people who are facing the post-COVID complications. The
True.
pathology, the pathogenesis, it's completely unclear for us. So I would like to ask Dr. Rajesh and Dr. Robert about this post-COVID complications as such. Long COVID, long haul COVID, it goes by different names.
Right.
So I think we should just discuss a little bit more about this.
So yes, the second wave of COVID has been different from what we saw the last year. I would see patients last year, they would recover within 2 weeks or max 3 weeks, and they were back to their normal routine life. But this time, number one, it's highly infectious. Number two, it is infecting a lot of young population who are in their 20s and 30s and 40s. And the recovery rate is slightly slower than what we saw it last time. So when we say long haul COVID, that means somebody who takes more than 6 weeks to recover out of COVID symptoms. A patient may be out of the hospital after recovering from his COVID pneumonia, but in spite of recovering from that and going back home, he may still have some symptoms which continue to persist, like headaches, body ache, fatigue, myalgia, some kind of anxiety, depression, loss of appetite, loss of taste, and these symptoms persist even almost 3 to 4 weeks after they have actually been discharged from the hospital. During this period, there can be some complications that we have been seeing. So if any patient who has any symptoms like unexplained breathlessness, all of a sudden he has recovered out of COVID, come back home, and in the 4th week, 5th week, he suddenly is having some kind of chest pain, breathlessness, definitely he needs to seek medical help. Somebody who's having unexplained severe headaches, he's never had headaches, he needs to seek medical help. Somebody unexplained abdominal pain. So something which is unusual, definitely he needs to seek medical help and not just say that, okay, it's a part of post-COVID and neglect it. So Robert sir will explain more.
Yeah, also post-COVID is proportional to how severe the patient's illness was at the start.
Okay.
Now we must understand that patients who have a mild disease usually cure in a week's time or 2 weeks' time, and they are normal within the 3rd or the 4th week. But those who have had more severe attacks of COVID and multi-system involvement, naturally they would need more time to heal, and they would then drift into this period of post-COVID where they feel depressed, they feel fatigued, they feel unexplained breathlessness or fatigability, muscle aches, all these, like Dr. Zaverani has described, they can occur. But the patient must be reassured that as time goes on, these symptoms improve, and most of them by the end of 3 months, they are back to normal. Very few, this maybe 1% or so, where it may persist even longer. But that's difficult to say who will be
Who
in
will
that
go into
phase,
that phase.
and who will not. But rest assured, most patients recover fully.
That's good to know, sir.
Yeah.
One more thing is that in the second wave, we have seen that the patients come with varied presentation. So, what is the actual reason for it? So you think it's the mutating strain? You think it's a virulent strain that's responsible for varied presentation? Why I'm asking this? Sometimes patients feel that I don't have fever, so I don't have COVID, but they may still be having COVID with just headache, just gastroenteritis, just loose motions, but they don't believe that they have had COVID or they are having COVID. So that's the entire reason I'm asking this question, so that people are aware about the various presentations of COVID during this second phase.
I think true, what you said is right, that not everybody has fever, not everybody has cough. Some may just have loss of smell, loss of taste. Some may just have unexplained weakness, just not feeling well, loose motions, diarrhea. Definitely they need to get themselves checked for COVID. Now if you need to ask the reason, well, I think there could be multiple reasons. One could be the amount of viral load that the patient has been exposed to. Of course, the mutant strain is different, and it's just not one mutant strain, there are different mutant strains. So it depends on what you're infected. Third, how your immune status is. What is your comorbidity? Are you suffering from diabetes, obesity? So I think these are multiple reasons for varied presentations in different kind of people. Definitely, yes, the worst kind of presentation would be somebody who comes with fever, pneumonia, breathlessness, low oxygen saturation. So these are the people whom we really need to be worried about.
Initially, we used to have 1 or 2 people in a family getting infected, but right now we are seeing the whole family is getting infected. So there is a change in the virus, which is bound to happen because the virus also has to survive. It has missed the first step of infecting younger people. This is the second step, and we hope that it stays there and doesn't go further down the drain. But we don't know for sure because we have no idea how this virus is going to behave. The future is absolutely unknown. But what is probably important to know is that prevention can play a big role in trying to avoid this disease. So all preventive measures stay the same. The virus can change, but we have to take preventive measures.
Yeah, so I think we need to
Very,
understand
very
that the
important.
virus is still going to stay.
Stay.
It doesn't mean that if the second wave is reduced, now we are less susceptible to, and then again the third wave comes in. So we need to definitely make sure that social distancing, mask, hand wash, hand hygiene, and all the routine precautions, they need to be taken care of. Even if you're vaccinated, even if you have suffered from COVID, you still need to continue to use these precautions.
Doctor, just one thing is specifically since you all are working in a tertiary care hospital, we've been also, now that we are aware that we do get lot of increase, because we've been also reading in the papers that increased number of heart attacks, strokes. So would you like to say something on that, so that it can,
So definitely we are seeing strokes, heart attacks, thromboembolism in patients who have suffered from COVID. We do not know if there's a direct impact of COVID on it. Of course, there are some indices where you find the D-dimer levels are high, that's an inflammatory marker, which will indirectly tell you that possibly that COVID could be one of the reasons. But these patients also have other comorbidities. So they have diabetes, they are elderly people, or they have obesity, they have high cholesterol levels. So I would not say that it's only COVID which is responsible. Maybe COVID makes them more susceptible. More susceptible. So definitely these patients need to be kept on a watch when you find that they have more comorbidities to prevent such kind of complications. Many of the times post discharge, we put them on oral anticoagulants or blood thinners, that is what we call, which can continue for 6 weeks, 12 weeks, depending on patient to patient. And this may help them to prevent such kind of complications. Large number of patients developing hyperglycemia or diabetes. I would not use the word diabetes because I find that after 2 months, the sugars are back to normal.
Okay.
They've
so
never
it is
had
just
diabetes.
A temporary increase in
Yes.
the sugar level.
So it is said that either it is due to steroids or some beta cell dysfunction from the pancreas that makes the sugars go high. And after a month, or 2 months, it starts coming down and it's back to normal.
No, I can tell you that because a friend of mine, who is just a borderline diabetic, he just got discharged. He came back to the hospital with 560
Exactly.
of
Exactly.
sugar. That's crazy.
Exactly. So
this
they
is
were
what
either
is happening.
pre-diabetic,
Yeah.
borderline diabetes, and they got developed diabetes.
Yes, yeah.
But after 2 months, they get back to normal life.
Okay.
The stress levels are less, routine life, everything, and that gets your sugars
I think
normal.
that's a good news.
That's a
Yeah,
good
yeah,
news
yeah.
for all of us.
Obesity is one of the major risk factors.
Yeah.
I think whatever mortality we saw this time, I would say a lot of them had unhealthy lifestyle, and obesity and diabetes is one of the risk factors. So definitely staying healthy. I think this COVID pandemic has taught us that prevention is better than cure.
Definitely.
And I think now most of us are heading towards a much more healthy lifestyle, regular exercise, the right diet, stress-free life, proper sleep. So these are certain things that we need to start so that we prevent such kind of illnesses.
We know that COVID is here to stay. We know that it's going to be there. We have to have COVID appropriate behavior, follow the COVID appropriate behavior in the next coming years. It's not that we are vaccinated, the wave is going to end and we are going to be safe. But follow the COVID appropriate behavior. As Dr. Rajesh and Dr. Robert said, lead a healthy lifestyle. Follow the etiquettes of SMS, that's social distancing, mask, as well as sanitization. Keep a check on the symptoms. That's what I got to know. Keep a check on any symptoms
Yes.
that you have. May it be fever, may it be cough, cold, or other unusual presentations of COVID. Get tested early, because the moment you test early, you are more careful about your health. That's what is the bottom line here. That's what I get to know. And do not panic, because I think by panicking we just increase our stress levels and our immunity goes down just with
True.
stress. That's also there. So no panic attacks, no panic episodes. If there are any questions, approach your physician, approach the doctor. Any unusual presentation, visit the healthcare facility at the earliest, and please don't let your guard down.
I think
Of
one more
course,
thing
go
about
and
vaccination.
Vaccinate yourself.
Yes, vaccinate yourself.
Please go ahead and get your jab, get your vaccination shot, complete 2 doses, because that definitely gives you the added protection to fight against the virus. Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think best is to have a very healthy lifestyle, decrease your weight, eat healthy, indulge in exercises, and that's it. Thank you so much. Thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Rajesh.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Dr. Robert. Thank you,
Thanks.
Dr. Priyanka. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.